So today we're going to head out and start putting out some traps, trap some raccoons. We do this every year after hunting season ends because we have a lot of problems around here with the raccoons and possums getting into the garbage and getting into the chicken coops. And by trapping, we can keep the numbers down so that we have less problems with them. Back before my time, there was a lot more people that trapped raccoons because the fur was worth more. Nowadays, the fur isn't worth much, so there's not as many people trapping to keep the population in check. We've been doing this for about 5 years, and we've noticed that we're catching less raccoons now than we were when we started 5 years ago. So I think what we're doing by trapping these animals is definitely helping. So these are dog-proof traps. They're used for the idea if you have a dog, your own dog or the neighbor's dog that's around your property and you still want to be able to trap the raccoons, you can use these and the dog won't be able to get his foot down in there to set off the trigger. But a raccoon can still get his foot down in there and pull on the trigger for when he's trying to get the bait out. So now I'm going to demonstrate how easy it is to set these. So they make these setters, which are really handy, especially if you're setting multiple traps. So you stick them in there like that. Then you push down, basically you're just compressing the spring. Then you hook it like that. And that's how easy it is to set them. So now I'll kind of show you how these traps work. So what the raccoon does is he reaches down here with his foot to grab the bait. Then when he lifts up on the trigger, it sets off and it just holds his foot in there so he can't get away. And then on the end of your chain, you got a little eyelet to stake your trap down. These stakes are just what they had at our local farm store, but you can make your own, or most places will have them that sell the traps. So this is all part of the trigger mechanism. As you can see, swivels back and forth there. Alright, so for the next trap, we're going to be using a live trap. These are even simpler and easier than the dog proofs that we just showed you. These are real easy to set. Some of them are a little bit different, but pretty much you just lift up the gate, then there's a little trigger. I like to set them on a hair trigger so that the raccoon doesn't have to put much weight on the trigger pan for it to go off. So the raccoon will just step on that pan and the gate falls and he's trapped in there. These are really nice because you can transport the animal very easily without having to move them from a trap to another trap or a trap to a cage. I've caught cats and skunks in these before, and you don't have to worry about injuring the animal in any way. This is just a cage that keeps them in there until you can take care of them and transport them if that's what you want to do. So this is a little bit more of an aggressive trap. It's called a conibear. We use these mainly for trapping groundhogs because they can be really destructive when they're burrowing under your house or your shop and could cause a lot of damage. We set these at the entrance of the hole that the groundhog made, and they do a really good job against the groundhogs. So these springs are already compressed, which you do that with this tool by compressing them just like that and then putting the safety on. And then once you do that to both sides, the trap's ready to set. So once you get the springs compressed, just lift it up like that, pull your clip through, and set your clip like that. And now the trap won't go off until you release the safeties. So we set these in front of the groundhog hole underneath the house or foundation. Then when anything touches the trigger mechanism, it'll go off like that, and then the animal's trapped. So if you got groundhog problems, this is a really great solution if you need to get rid of them. So now I'm going to get started, go and set out these 4 dog proofs in this live trap for the raccoons and possums that's been getting into the garbage. So follow along to see how we do it and see if we catch some. So once you figure out where you want your trap, you normally just push it in with your hand, but today the ground's frozen, so I got this block of wood I'm going to use to tap it in the ground. Then if the trap's set off while you're pushing it in the ground, you can just go ahead and reset it while it's in the ground. So once you get your spot picked out for your trap and you get it set in the ground, you're going to want to put a stake so that the raccoon can't take off with your trap. So for bait, I like to use cat food because it's really simple and cheap. So I put 6 or 8 pieces in the trap and then 5 or 6 on the ground, and then you're done for the bait. So I picked this spot because the raccoons like to run the top of this levee here. So I'm at the next spot. I'm gonna put out another dog proof by this old barn that must have fell down a long time ago. So first, you can go ahead and set the trap. Then once you get it set, if the ground's soft enough where you can push it in by hand, you can go ahead and push it in. But you wanna make sure that you never get your finger in the trap, because if it goes off, it will not be good. And then take your stake, choose wherever you want your stake. If there's a little trail that's passing right here, you don't want to have your stake in the middle of the trail. So you want to get your stake off the trail as much as you can. Then you can take your hammer, hammer it in. So on this trap, I'm going to try some moon pie just to see if it makes a difference. So I'm going to break off a little piece and sprinkle it around the outside. And then take a little bit more, break it up into smaller chunks and put it on the inside. So now, trap's all set, and we'll come back tomorrow and see if we got anything. This is what we call a live trap. What you can do with a live trap is you can transport the animals to a spot where they're away from people and they're not going to get into trouble like they do around cities and getting into people's garbage. So once you get it set where you want it, you can use a little bit more bait than we do with the dog proofs. I like to get a good sized chunk if you're going to use a moon pie and toss that all the way back past the trigger. And then you can use a little more and sprinkle outside. Then you can sprinkle a little bit more inside near the trigger pan. And with a live trap, you can use even more than just one type of bait. And it never hurts to have a little extra behind the trigger pan. Then, once you get it all baited, you're good to go until tomorrow, where we'll come check it again. So, this is the first night with the trap being set, and on the first set, we got a raccoon. So, I'm going to go ahead and dispatch him, and then get the trap all reset, and then we'll come back tomorrow again and see if we got anything else. So, we got the raccoon taken care of. I'm gonna go ahead and knock out any loose dirt or food that might have been left in the trap so it won't affect the trigger. Then I'll go ahead and set the trap back. Once I get it set, I'm gonna do the same thing that we do when we're setting the trap from the beginning. Push it in the ground. Then you get your bait out. I'm gonna go back with cat food on this trap because that seemed to work pretty good. Sprinkle 6 to 8 pieces inside, and 4 or 5 around the outside. And then we'll just come back tomorrow again. So today we've got ourselves a possum and a live trap. Live traps are really nice, like I mentioned before, because you can catch the animal and transport it very easily without having to dispatch it on the spot, as long as you make sure you check your local regulations of where you can release the animal. So we're gonna give this guy a ride where he's not gonna get in any trouble and he can carry on with his life. It's the 3rd day of the traps being out and we got another raccoon. This is the spot by the spring that goes up into the bluffs. So we're gonna get this guy taken care of and then we'll reset the trap. So we got ourselves another possum up here on the levee. So we're gonna get him taken care of, reset our trap, and go check all of our others. Yesterday we had a ½ inch or a little more of a rainstorm, so today I'm going to reset my traps and knock out all the bait that was left inside of them. First I'm going to set it off and take it, knock out the bait, make sure it all comes out and the trigger is free to move. Because sometimes whenever you get precipitation, it can make your bait soggy and swell up, and it could affect the trap being set off. So, just like normal, I'm going to reset the trap. So lately I've been having problems with the chickens and the cat getting into the bait, so I'm going to wait till late tonight to come bait the trap. So it looks like we got ourselves another possum in the live trap, and it's a pretty big one this time. It's good to catch the big ones, even though you can't choose which ones you catch. But your big possums are going to do the majority of your getting into your trash and eating eggs or killing chickens, whatever you might be having problems with. So we're going to get this guy taken care of, and then we're going to go check the rest of the traps. So this morning I went to the hardware store and I got this 5-foot piece of pipe and some nylon rope. So right now I'm going to show you how easily you can take an animal out of the trap and release him, or transport him into a cage to move him further. You want to make sure you don't get too close to his face because he can bite you. So you just slip the loop around his head, make sure it's not in front of his nose. Right there, he got it in his mouth, so I'm going to try to put it lower than his mouth. And I'm going to take the back end, pull it up tight. Kind of hold him to the ground and pull his foot out. So once I get him in the noose, I can let him go how he is, or I can put him in a cage to transport him further. So I'm going to go ahead and knock the extra food out of my trap. Once I make sure all the bait's out and the trigger's clean and free to move, go ahead and reset it like normal. Push it back in the ground. Got it pushed in the ground now. And today I'm not going to rebait it right away because I've been having some problems with the cat and the chickens getting into the bait. So I'm going to come back late this evening and reset it once the chickens are put up and the cat's in the garage. So we ran out of time. Trapping season just ended last night. So we're going to head out and get our traps pulled. We ended up catching 2 raccoons and 5 possums. And that's less than we've caught in previous years. So I think what we're doing by trapping is making a difference. So we got the traps all pulled and pressure washed off. Gonna hang them up in the shop and then they'll be ready for me next trapping season. So that wraps it up for trapping raccoons. Our channel's main focus is deer hunting. However, we thought we'd make this video in case any of you guys are having problems with raccoons around your house. So hopefully if you're in that situation, this helped you figuring out how you can solve that problem. We've been doing this for about 5 years, and we've noticed that this year we didn't catch near as many as we did the first couple of years. So I think what we're doing is paying off. So thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for next time.